friends, my name is Bethany Herway and I'm the Glamorous Housewife. Today I'm going to show you how to elevate an inexpensive cut of beef by using olive oil. That's coming up next here on the Glamorous Housewife. I spend a lot of time online, and one of the trends I've noticed in food is people have taken this trick from a restaurant and they use something called compound butter to flavor a steak. Now, it's delicious, but you have to use a very expensive cut of beef that's already very tender. And I don't know about you, but I'm always looking to save some money. So I'm going to show you how you can elevate an inexpensive steak, not by using butter, but by using olive oil. I'm going to show you how to take a flank steak or a tri-tip and put it into a marinade, let it sit, put it under the broiler, and then you can have a gorgeous steak with a side dish. And I'm going to show you how to do that all right now. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make your marinade. And one of the key components is onion. Now, I really like onions. I always have ever since I was a little girl. My grandfather had, I would say, a small farm or a very large garden in Graham, Texas, and he grew the sweetest onions and would eat them like you would eat an apple. Now, I could never quite bring myself to just bite into an onion, but his wife, my step-grandmother, would put slices of onions on the table, and we would just eat it with our cornbread and our meat and our potatoes, and I loved it. So I like to have things with lots of onion. All right. So while I was telling you my story, I've chopped up this whole onion and it's going to go into a plastic bag. Now, the reason I put it in a plastic bag is because it's easy cleanup. So if you want, you're more than welcome to use a shallow dish, maybe a cookie sheet or a bowl, and that makes for a bit more of a cleanup, but maybe it's a little more environmentally sound. I will rinse my bags and dry them and use them quite a few times. Now we've got the onions in the bag, we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So to this, you're going to have 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 2 cloves of garlic. I use the frozen kind because I find them to be the easiest. Half a teaspoon of dried rosemary and half a teaspoon of dried basil. For this, I don't use fresh herbs because it's going to marinate for so long, and then we're actually going to cook this later. I'm going to show you how. And it's going to give it too much flavor, and the basil will wilt and turn black and be gross. But for some reason, the dried stuff works perfectly. Then you're going to use half a teaspoon of salt and 4 tablespoons of the aforementioned olive oil. Now, when you use an inexpensive cut of beef, more often than not, one of the reasons it's less expensive is because it is a tough cut. One of the reasons it's a tough cut is because it doesn't have much fat on it. One way to tenderize beef, besides the vinegar, which will break down the beef, is to add a fat to it, like the olive oil. Okay, done with that. Then you just shut the bag and mix it all around, making sure the garlic and the salt and herbs are all combined. Then all you have to do is add your beef to the bag and let it sit in the refrigerator for anywhere from 4 hours to overnight. When you're ready to cook your meat, the first thing you're going to do is grab a colander and drain your onions into the colander. Carefully pull out the steak, being sure to scrape off any of the excess onion because those will just end up burning when you cook your steak in the broiler. Place the steak on the broiler tray. and then dump out all the onions into the colander. You want to drain it from all the excess oil and vinegar, or it'll be too wet when you cook it. Yep, I said cook it. Over a medium-high flame, you're going to take your drained onions and cook them in a pan. This will concentrate all those delicious flavors and create a topping for your steak. At this point, they've been cooking about 15 to 20 minutes, and it's time to lower the flame to finish off the onions. Gorgeous! At this point, you can turn off the flame and serve. Now let's talk about your steak. I decided to cook this in the broiler because I don't have a grill. If you wanted to, though, this works really good on any type of grill, and it's normally what my father does when he cooks it, and it comes out delish. So once you've taken your flank steak out of the oven and you've let it rest, so all the juices, they don't pour out when you cut it, they kind of come back in, it's time to slice. Now, because this is a tough meat, instead of cutting on the grain, you want to sort of give it a bias cut against the grain. This makes the tissues fall apart easier when you chew and on your fork. So I can see, it's going to be too hard for you to see, but the grain is running this way, which is why I'll be slicing it this way. So let me show you how. I find a serrated knife works best. You just work it as best you can in as thin slices as possible. The thinness really makes it taste better because it is a tougher cut of meat. Plus, I think it looks really pretty. Now, as you can see, you can see the pink right here. It's pretty rare. I like mine rare. I could have probably added another minute or two on each side. This was cooked for about 4.5 minutes, flipped 4.5 minutes. If I'd gone a little longer, this would be less pink, but I still think it looks pretty good. So continue to cut it until you're ready to plate. Doesn't it look gorgeous? I decided to plate it on a bed of fresh basil and added a little sprig of rosemary because there was both dried basil and dried rosemary in the marinade. And I like to present things with the flavors that people are going to eat so they know what to expect. I also have the marinated caramelized onions, which are the perfect substitution for butter when you're trying to add flavor and elevate a London broil. And remember, this had the olive oil, which adds both flavor and tenderness to your steak. That's it for this edition of The Glamorous Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me. And remember, I'm here every Wednesday, and you can always find me on the blog, theglamouroushousewife.com. And if you sign up to my newsletter, I have a bonus video every Friday, and the only way to get that link is through the newsletter. Thanks, ladies. Bye.